On today's episode of Wrong Side, we dive into where the committee got it right and got it wrong. Selection Sunday was this past weekend. The 12 teams have been announced, and we look at what we would change and what they should change in the college football playoff for this season and future years. The NFL keeps going. We dive back into what's been going on. Bears disaster, Josh Allen with one of the best games in NFL history and a loss, and a new running back on Eric Dickerson's trail, and Barry Sanders shouts out Ashton Junty in the college side of rushing. Clutch moment of the week brought to you by Shore Metals and Outside the Line. In a world full of champions, we find ourselves on the wrong side.
Welcome back, Wrongsiders. Today is December 11th, and we have a lot to talk about today. College football playoff is here. The bracket was announced this past Sunday, and OSU has drawn Tennessee in the first round for their home game. I know we were panicked last week, but we are back, have a home game, all the Buckeye fans rallying back together for this playoff push. Now, before we dive into the bracket, the things we would change, what the matchups say right now, this is episode 38, a very special episode. And I don't know about you in your baseball career, Michael, but a lot of times, like throughout the years, like you want to have a cool number in sports, right? You talk about the numbers you want to have. You want to maybe be a single digit in football. You got 22, 23, 24, even 99 could be a cool number. I think the 30s is kind of where you go wrong side in terms of kind of dripless, bad numbers. So are you aware of the most famous athletes who wore number 38?
No.
Yeah,
I was gonna say.
Mhm.
I was gonna say. Walter Payton's 34, I think, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The GOAT, yes, 34.
38. Maybe Brian Wilson, the closer, was he 38?
Was not on my list, but the Google AI could be wrong. 37 and 38 are two of the most dripless numbers that I could think of. The list that I came up with for number 38 this week's special episode: 1, Ramondre Stevenson of the Patriots. 2,
Okay.
Roland James, another former Patriot, was a member of the all 1980s team. Kurt Schilling, former MLB player. And Kwame Brown for 2 seasons on the Pistons. So happy episode 38. Happy episode 38.
And it was Brian Wilson. I did do a quick checkout. It was Brian Wilson on the Giants, the closer.
Good
for the
take.
Giants. That was
take. I don't know if I would have
random
been able
shout
to
out
rip
for
one
me.
of those out. Yeah, I don't know if I would have been able to.
All right. Ramondre Stevenson, let's go. Do it.
Shout out. But yeah, lots to talk about today. We'll get to NFL and the Bears disaster class a little bit later, but the bracket is here. My favorite time of year is about 2 or 3 weeks before the playoff is officially announced, and we've been debating the possible scenarios, the paths for different teams to get in. Obviously, OSU is still licking our wounds a little bit after the tough loss to Michigan in the shoe to end the year, but we have been able to draw another home game, so hoping to not end the season at home with a loss. So I know we're going to dive more into specific matchups here, but figured it was a good time to start with Ohio State. Took some notes on that matchup. First of all, the biggest thing I think everyone is talking about online is Tennessee's defensive line. I know our run game has been a little bit questionable as of late. Some O-linemen hurt out for the season, so a little bit weaker there. Obviously, a horrible rushing game plan versus Michigan. So I think the highlight of the conversation online, at least that I've seen, is Tennessee's strong defensive line versus OSU's banged up offensive line. We'll see how Nico plays, but what do you really think of this matchup at a high level as the brackets come out, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, I think the teams they got into the playoff are right. Do I agree with all of the order? Probably not. But I think the games are pretty good. Clemson, Texas will be a good game. Kate Klubnik versus Quinn Ewers, which, fun fact, if anybody didn't know this, they actually played each other in the Texas State Championship their junior year. And the headline after it was over was a preview to next season. They said, if we don't see it again next year, we'll definitely see it one day in college, and we're going to see it. A lot of Cade's high school teammates on Texas currently, so a big game there. I think also one of the interesting stories is Dabo. definitely been one of the anti-NIL guys, in my opinion, and
Oh
seems to
yeah.
be doing development. SMU Penn State, not too excited for that one, in my opinion. It seems like it's going to be a boring game. But James Franklin has a chance with a route. I think we can get into that a little later to maybe win a couple games and get Penn State rolling. IU versus Notre Dame is the battle of Indiana, a real battle in my opinion, and a chance for Cignetti, in my opinion, to really show something. He's still cocky. He's doing all these interviews. He was cocky against Ohio State, and he lost. So to me, I think it's another chance for Cignetti. But looking at obviously the main game of the weekend for us, for everybody else, Tennessee versus Ohio State. We'll get into it a lot more next week when we're about to be in the game. But in my opinion, it's going to be a pretty good game, I think. Tennessee has a very underrated defensive line. They have the SEC Offensive Player of the Year in the running back. OSU has a chance at redemption at home in the shoe. But, like, I don't know. This seems like it would be very tough because, in my opinion, I think that Ohio State has a chance to win this game, but everyone's kind of picking against them. And that usually doesn't happen. I feel like the Oregon game, there were still like pretty 50-50 picks. Like, obviously we lost, but I still felt like it was still 50-50. This game feels like everybody's calling us out. Feels like everyone's over it. Feels like nobody cares
Oh
about
yeah.
Ohio State. I'm reading a lot of stuff about the fans saying that they're selling their tickets or they want to lose because they want Ryan Day fired. If you are saying that, in my opinion, bad fan, get out of the stadium, give your ticket to someone who matters. But that game, we'll dive in even more next week, do more of a matchup look. But I'm excited. I think the bracket's cool. I'm nervous. Also, we've gotten to these situations before as a team like in 2014 when they won it all. You got to win 2 games and you're the champs. We've gotten in as the underdog, like when we lost to Georgia a few years ago, and we did have to win 2 games, but we had something to prove. This is a tough route. It's 4 games. Anything can happen. It's very tough to keep playing football. At the end of the day, if you're Oregon or no, I mean, I guess not Oregon, but if you're any team that didn't play, like Ohio State, Tennessee, in a conference championship, this will be your 13th game of the year. 13, 14, 15, 16. You're going to play almost a full NFL schedule. So pretty interesting. The first time in the NFL to see that, but I'm very much looking forward to this bracket. I'm excited. It's a lot of football, and I'm very excited to see how it plays out.
Yeah, the matchup should be great. Tennessee, OSU, like we said, we're going to dive into a little bit later. OSU is getting, I think, 7.5 points to start out. Dabo, I do want to highlight Dabo. Dabo is usually a contender for Tone Deaf Person of the Week in one way or another.
Yes.
But even after the conference championship game, the close win versus SMU with the freshman banging, I think it was a 56-yard field goal as time expires to win that game. First thing he said when he got up to the podium is SMU should also be in the playoff. Obviously, with how the game shook out.
That was so cool. That was like respect
great.
for your conference. That was like respect for your conference. That was actually the coolest part of the weekend, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And like Dabo, he's big, like really comes across as selfish a lot with his whole the whole God angle, the whole lack of NIL thing. And he also said that, hey, everybody says that I'm an idiot for not doing NIL, but hey, I keep winning. I know they snuck in as the 12 seed by way of a conference championship bid, but we'll see what Dabo can do in the playoffs. It's a lot of guys that hopefully, at least on paper, are at Clemson because they want to be on Clemson. They're not chasing a brand or a paycheck somewhere else. So Dabo definitely had his time in the sun back a handful of years ago when they were winning all those championships with Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson and all that good stuff. So honestly, kind of pleased to see Clemson in it, and also very pleased to see SMU sneak in over Bama as well. So like we said, we'll dive into more of like the game breakdown here next week when we're right up against the games, but just high level bracket thoughts. Obviously the story online is the SEC babies freaking out. If you want to see where our heads are at, SEC babies are crying. SMU gets in over Bama was kind of the 1-for-1 swap. So I'm personally glad that Bama got left out. I don't think you can lose 3 times in a year. I think it would have been a horrible precedent to set by the committee. And yes, I am big enough to admit that Bama is probably one of the best 12 teams in the country. Like, you can say that year in and year out. They're a massive brand. They execute. They're a great football team, but don't lose to 6-6 Vanderbilt and 6-6 Oklahoma as 3-score and 2-score favorites, and we'll be able to see it when it really matters. So I don't feel bad. I have no love lost that Alabama was left out, but I know there's a lot of arguments there. So what do you kind of think of? We talked about kind of where the the committee went wrong. Bama is obviously a big name there, but what were your other thoughts on the bracket?
I thought that the SMU, giving SMU the spot, in my opinion, was good. It was still giving the benefit of championship games. And to be honest with you, if they would have gotten left out like that, I would have been pretty upset. Because if Clemson would have blown them out 31-0, that's one thing. But a last-second field goal is definitely not what should kick you out. 3 points. They lost to 3 points to BYU, another good team that ended up at the top 20. So it's not like their losses were horrible, in my opinion.
For sure.
Bama, I don't really understand what the SEC is doing right here. They're complaining, like they're complaining that they shouldn't play the extra, like, out of conference games or like good out of conference games, but that wasn't what lost in the game. Like, in my opinion, like, you lost to 2 6-6 teams. A, B. Why didn't you schedule tougher games then? You did not schedule. I feel like am I missing something? Because they didn't schedule tougher games like Mercer, Wisconsin. Like what am I missing here? Like, they didn't schedule the tougher games. They lost to 2 6-6 teams. They got blown out by a 6-6 team. What am I missing here? That, like, Bama's argument was so great.
I don't get it, and that was kind of the case for, I think, Ole Miss as well. They were like, Lane Kiffin was going crazy on Twitter over this last week talking about, like, common opponents with Bama and South Carolina and all that stuff. The only team that I can really think of in the playoff picture that's scheduled tough out-of-conference games is Clemson again. So kind of riding on Clemson right now, but Clemson opened the season, I think it was a neutral site game against Georgia, or it was on the road
it was.
Obviously,
it
like
was,
a pretty...
Actually, it was a quote-unquote neutral site at Atlanta.
Mercedes. Oh, shocker.
At my Mercedes, right.
Georgia plays 6 of those games a year, which I'll get to. I had a note on that, too. I'll get to in a second here. But Clemson opened up the season in a neutral site game versus Georgia and ended the year playing South Carolina.
Neutral site.
Two SEC teams for Clemson. They scheduled tough out-of-conference games, beat South Carolina to end the year, lost to Georgia. So
they lost to both.
They lost to both. You're right. So they were nearly punished. I mean, I know they snuck in by way of kind of BYU and Colorado and a couple other. No, not that.
They won their conference. They won their conference.
Yes, Miami losing late in the year
out of conference. Yeah.
Yes, Miami losing late in the year in the ACC and all that. They got the opportunity kind of not by default, but they weren't like undefeated heading into the
similar to Penn State, in my opinion.
Yeah, very similar to Penn State. So now, like, they're in the dance. They actually played some stuff. But like you said, like Alabama, they played Mercer, South Florida, Wisconsin. Texas is still, I forgot what seed they actually were, but Texas sat in the top 3 in the country all year, and currently doesn't have a win versus a ranked team. I know Michigan and a couple other teams looked a lot better to start the year than it is right now. But the fact that the SEC, the hill that they're dying on is that now we're not going to schedule tough out of conference games. Also, Texas opens the season again. Is it at Ohio State next year?
Yeah, at Ohio State.
At Ohio State.
So we're there in 2 years. We're there in 2 years. Yeah.
But a huge out of conference matchup for both of those teams. But I don't get it. No one in the SEC really, except for I guess Georgia had Clemson, which now looks good. No one in the SEC really scheduled tough out of conference games. Bama was 22.5-point favorites versus Vanderbilt. 14-point favorites at Oklahoma, and I think 3-point favorites against Tennessee, which was their other loss. So I don't get it. I think there's definitely a lot more to be said about the quality of their wins. Bama, I think, was 3-1 versus top 25 opponents, something like that. So the fact that they're focusing on the out-of-conference stuff just kind of makes them look stupid, in my opinion, from the SEC perspective. But I don't know if I'm missing something either.
Yeah, I really don't get it because I think we must be, because it seems like that's still a big talking point. And we're not going to schedule these. You have to schedule a tough out of conference game to make it worth it. Beating Wisconsin and beating Mercer, those aren't teams where you're like, well, you know what? I'm so happy they scheduled them. Like that's gonna carry them through it. Versus last year, for example, when Ohio State lost to Michigan, the reason Ohio State was even in discussion at the end of the season was because of a road win against Notre Dame. Ohio State scored. When you schedule those better games, they will help you. And I looked ahead. Alabama doesn't have many hard games left. They have Ohio State in like 2030, 2031, something like that. There's not many on their schedule that are like crazy out of conference games. So I don't really understand. I still feel like the SEC was rewarded very well, in my opinion. They got Texas in, they got Georgia in, they got Tennessee in, and I guess that's it. 3 teams. They got 3 teams in, which is actually kind of shocking. Me actually speaking it out loud. They got 3 teams in, and Big Ten got 4. Wow, that's really impressive. But they got 3 teams in. Like, they were a conference that was built upon 2 losses. Everybody had 2, 3 losses. Like, there has to be some benefit. And I get it. You're right. You said it off the bat. Alabama's probably a top 12 team. You said it. Yeah. I agree. But you still have to be punished. Why are we playing these games? If you're playing these games, they have to be worth something. And you can't be playing these games for no reason. So you lose 2 games, you should deserve to be punished. And I get it. Ohio State has a bad loss too. But the argument everyone's made is, well, Ohio State, why are they in? They have two losses and a bad loss. Well, Ohio State has 2 top 10 wins. And the best thing is, all these SEC fans, they keep saying, well, those teams aren't.
3 top 10 wins. Or no, 2 top 10 wins and a 1-point loss to Oregon. I have a point to make after that, but go ahead.
But the best thing is, they're like, they have 2 top, like Ohio State has 2 top 10 wins. That's why they're ahead. No, well, they've beaten Penn State and Tennessee. They're not good. And everyone's like, whether you think they're good or not, the committee believes they're in the top 10. So whatever the committee ranks them, if they have the win against them, like, then they got it. So like, they have the wins. So what would you like to say there? You know? And everyone's like, oh, like, that shouldn't count. Like, Indiana, Penn State, like, well, it doesn't matter if it should or shouldn't count. That's what happened. Like, they're ranked there. They beat them. That's why Ohio State's in. So frustrating. The SEC, they always believe it's their way or the highway. They're wrong, annoying, so dumb.
Yeah. I think it was good to see. We've seen, like, last year with Florida State being 13-0 and getting left off for Alabama. Like, we can all admit that Alabama is one of the top 12 teams in the country overall, but this year they didn't earn a chance to be there. I think part of it, going into kind of like what we would change about the setup and the bracket, is balanced conference scheduling. I think I forgot which conferences it was, but some conferences play 9 in-conference games and other conferences
9
play
versus
8. So that's obviously a difference, especially if everyone is scheduling kind of cupcake out of conference games. And then you have like kind of like within conference issues where Ohio State had to play Oregon, Penn State, and Indiana, and obviously had Michigan in there, and they were having a down year. So Ohio State had to play the 3 other Big Ten teams that ended up making the playoffs. Bama, 3-1 versus top 25 opponents, but there were other teams, and I
Georgia,
guess Texas
they played well. Georgia had a tough schedule, and they made their way through it, and like
they made their way through it. 2 losses, got to the conference championship, and again to Texas. They lost. They played one ranked team twice. They played Georgia in the regular season, lost 30-15, and then Georgia in the SEC championship. That was the only ranked team they played. It would have been obviously like a much more disappointing season if Texas had any of the losses that Alabama currently has. They'd be well out of it right now. So finding some way to kind of get the conference scheduling balance. I don't know if you go into divisions. I know Big Cat was saying that could be a good idea, like division winners. And I know we just came out of divisions into the super conferences,
right.
But balanced scheduling, I think, is a big part here because you have some teams that have a gauntlet of a schedule, and obviously if you do well, you have some marquee wins to look at for as far as the committee goes. But other teams, like, they don't play anybody, and like if they start the season ranked high, like I think Mizzou could even be a good example of it. They started the season ranked high, had some shitty losses, but some SEC teams were still pointing that as a good win because they still ended the season ranked. So somehow scheduling of the regular season has to improve a little bit. But then as far as seeding goes, the biggest thing that kind of stuck out to me for the bracket was the fact that Penn State was still ranked ahead of Ohio State. I watched most of the Big Ten championship game, and by all accounts, it was pretty much a blowout. I mean, it was the highest scoring Big Ten championship game in history.
Ever.
Yeah, ever. And I know Oregon was leading the entire time, up multiple scores at multiple points throughout the game, only won by 7 at the end, but Penn State still ends up ranked ahead of Ohio State. Obviously, Ohio State went on the road earlier this year and took care of business in Happy Valley. So how did the committee rank the conference championships? What should they have done differently? And is there any rationale to having Penn State above Ohio State other than just the fact that they were able to play in the conference championship game?
Yeah, I mean, looking at the entire bracket as a whole, Oregon's number 1, 2 is Georgia, 3 is Boise, 4 is Arizona State. First off, we didn't really mention it fully yet, but like I believe in auto bids, not auto buys. There's no reason that Arizona State and Boise State. I'm not putting anything against them. I am not saying that either team is bad. Cam Scatabo for the running back for Arizona State is awesome, great to watch. Boise, Genty, obviously amazing. They've done their pack. But in my opinion, like Boise hasn't beaten anybody, in my opinion. And not to criticize Boise. It's not a knock on Boise. They've taken care of business every part of the way, but they're being uplifted by a 3-point overtime loss to Oregon. That's why they're that high. In my opinion, I think these teams shouldn't be conference champions with the bye. And I think, to be honest, this is going to be the first change they make this offseason. It's going to be automatic bids for champions versus automatic buys. And I think that's going to be important. I think that you have teams like Penn State or Texas or Notre Dame or Ohio State or SMU. There's teams that maybe have deserved that bye more. And it shouldn't be like Clemson, for example, is ranked at their final ranking was 16. I don't know if you saw that when they were announcing the bracket. They were 16 and they got in as 12. SMU's in. Arizona State was like 11 or 12. So like you're giving these teams that, like, yes, they did win their championship and they should be rewarded, but like also they're so far down in the rankings. Why should they get the bye? So that's my first thing. When it comes to Ohio State versus Ohio State versus Penn State, in my opinion, I don't understand it. I can't figure it out. I don't know why. Why did we play head to head? It was at home. I do respect them in a way if for them giving Penn State the benefit of playing the extra game. They played the extra game. Should you punish them? Should you not? Because they were consistent if you look at it. SMU lost. They kept SMU in. Penn State, they kept them in. Like, they were consistent there. So there's that part of it. Texas, they didn't really drop Texas that far, even though Texas has 0 top 25 wins and they lost both their tough games. So that part I don't get. But they were consistent at least top to bottom. But I still don't understand why Penn State was above us. We had the head-to-head. Penn State, I guess they played good against Oregon, but they gave up 45 points. They didn't play great. In my opinion, they weren't good. It was a slugfest, in my opinion. So there's that part of it. And the last thing I'll say about the bracket, in my opinion, Oregon, not so much a punishment, but in my opinion, you went undefeated. You're number one in the nation. You won the Big Ten. You're 13-0, and you get drawn with the toughest game in the first round, in my opinion. So a lot of things I think the bracket needs to change. A lot of things I think the people need to look at on the committee, but the committee will never get it right. The world will never be happy all the way through. So it just seems like to me like it's not going to be perfect ever. And they're moving to 16 teams in 2 years, which I hate. It should have always been 8. It should have always been 8 teams. And that's how it should have always been. It never should have been 12, in my opinion.
I don't hate that. I think 12 is good. 16 is going to get a little bit crazy. I think they're still going to have 4 first-round buys there. I think another change that they're going to make super quickly here is reseeding after the first round. It's super clear that Oregon got the short end of the stick as far as the bracket goes, and that the Penn State – is that the Arizona State leg of the bracket?
Penn State is Boise.
The Boise State leg of the bracket is by far the easiest path. So pulling up the bracket right now, it's Penn State versus SMU to go play Boise State in the Glendale, Arizona at the Fiesta Bowl. The winner of that would play Georgia's leg of the bracket. So either Notre Dame, Indiana, or Georgia, and then play the rest, which includes Texas, Tennessee, Ohio State, Clemson, Arizona State, and Oregon. So that is by far the most favorable draw of the bracket, and that's including the fact that Penn State just lost their conference championship game. You have Ohio State, who is a super deserving, super deserving representative there. Oregon, the number 1 team in the country, gets blessed with the hardest leg of the bracket, even though they just played in their conference championship and won. So I think reseeding is another big thing that needs to be done outside of this. And then, like you said, auto bids and not auto buys. So hopefully they'll move quickly. I know the public has been begging for an expanded playoff for a long, long time now, and they're now finally just getting to it. So hopefully they can move a little more quickly. I think Joel Klatt said it really well today on his podcast that this isn't the 12-team playoff is not a brand new house. It's not a brand new car. It's not a brand new mansion. It's a renovation to the 4-team playoff that we had before. So obviously, with the way that they weighted conference championships and the way that the buys are working out and the seeding is working out, hopefully there's going to be changes, and hopefully it's going to be quicker than how it got to getting to this 12-team playoff. But overall, I mean, a lot of great teams, a lot of great brands in there. Even outside of the SEC, that wasn't even a shot. It's a super exciting bracket. Ohio State with a great and really tough potential path going through maybe Texas, even Georgia and Atlanta in the national championship. we'll dive into the matchups and the bracket obviously a little
Yeah.
bit more as we get to it. But super exciting stuff. But like you said, no one will be happy all the time. So we'll see how they adjust.
I will say one other thing that the NCAA needs to worry on, and I know they have a million problems right now with everything else, with NIL and the bracket and the playoff. But in my opinion, one thing that does need to change is transfer portal window. As of right now, we're recording this on December 9th. The transfer portal just opened this morning, and it's awful timing, in my opinion. There's two things there's two ways of going about it. You can enter the portal, leave your team, do all that, or the other way of looking at it is there's people that want to help you. For example, Devin Brown announces he's going to be in the portal. That's okay. Kind of expected it for Ohio State. In my opinion, not a big deal. But he says, I'm going to stick it out with Ohio State, and I'm going to ride through this playoff run. Whether it's 1 game, 2 games, 3 games, 4 games, he's going to be here. And that might hurt Devin Brown in the long run, where teams need a quarterback. Maybe they wait on him. Maybe they don't want to wait on him. That might be an impact. Or you have Kenny Dillingham, for example, from Arizona State, who he told his guys, I understand it's a business. I understand you guys need to get places. That being said, if you need a transfer, let us help you. Let us get you in the right spot. And kind of a player's coach, in my opinion. He knows that spots fill up. He knows his guys are good enough. Here's how we can help them. So that being said, I think the transfer portal needs to be fixed. It's an awful timing. Make it even after the semifinals. At least after the semifinals or like before the semifinals. At least by then, there's 4 teams left. And I think that's another NCAA flaw that needs to be fixed moving forward.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely respect Devin Brown, so shout out to him real quick that he is going to stick around for the playoff run. I know no one expected him to be the starter. Before obviously Will Howard came in, he would have been the number 1 person on the depth chart, except I know we got the freshmen and the transfers and all that good stuff. But he really was, even through the offseason before those guys came in, like he was singing all the right stuff as the quarterback of the Buckeyes, burn the boats. Hopefully he gets a shot wherever he goes. I know some of my Iowa friends were texting me that he might end up there. I think he'd be great for Iowa. He's super gritty. I mean, maybe not the best quarterback on the planet, but a great locker room guy, great like that. But shout out Dillingham as well for being a player's coach and taking care of those guys. I mean, I know Arizona State's having kind of a magical season getting into the playoff and everything. It's hard to leave your team right now. There's no reason why players or coaches should be asked to be in that position. So that definitely needs to change. And we'll see. I know there's questions of some other Buckeye quarterbacks transferring, and we'll take a look at the O-lineman in the portal because we need that badly. And the rest of that we'll obviously be keeping an eye on through the offseason. But college football playoffs are here. We're very excited about it. Focused on Tennessee. I know we can talk about the Rose Bowl. We can talk about Texas. We can talk about that all we want. Focused on Tennessee right now. So other than that, that's kind of all we had for college football playoffs. And now over to my least favorite day of the week is Sundays and
the No Fun League.
NFL, the No Fun League. So Michael, where do you want to start here?
Obviously Cowboys game wrapping up right now, and Bears we can save for last because there's not much, but a couple games we wanted to hit on. Panthers Eagles, in my opinion, game of the weekend. Not so much in like the best football or it's top tier football. I thought the Eagles, I knew they were going to win, but I think Bryce Young looks pretty good. And I don't know if they did like a factory reset when they benched him, but kind of a pro to see that. I really enjoyed seeing that. It is incredible. We've talked about it multiple times throughout the year. It's incredibly tough to be an NFL quarterback.
Yes.
It's incredibly tough to be a quarterback of a bad team. And it's incredibly tough to be a quarterback of a team that has no resources and at one point didn't believe in you this season. They didn't. They benched him. Mm-hmm. It feels like he's coming into his own. I understand they lost, and yes, it sucks to lose. I'm not saying, oh, I'm happy Bryce Young is still losing. But Xavier Legette catches that ball, they win that game. They win the game if Legette catches that ball. And he played well. That scramble out of the end zone looked phenomenal. He looked like himself again. And I really enjoyed watching that. I like seeing growth like that. Maybe that's a new strategy. Let them sit for a couple games. Maybe they'll learn if they start. I mean, I know he's in year 2 and AR kind of same thing had happened. But both of them have played a lot better since being benched. Really enjoyed seeing that from the Panthers side of the ball.
Yeah, I agree. It's good to see Bryce Young living it up. Obviously, the Bears traded the number 1 overall pick of that draft and ended up getting Caleb and DJ Moore and a whole bunch of other things. So we've kind of been attached to the Panthers over the last couple of years. Fun fact, Bears only have 2 more wins than the Panthers in that amount of time. But
that's
great to
fun.
see. No. Went to the Bears-Panthers games earlier where the Bears got one of those 2 wins. And we were yelling. We were yelling from the stands. Here we go, Bryce. Like, stick to it, Bryce. We got you, Bryce. And honestly, a lot of like positive interactions. Why is your jaw on the floor right now?
Sorry, not to interrupt people, but I did just see the Cowboys block a kick, a punt. They blocked the punt. They would have gotten the ball
Yeah.
back. After blocking the punt, they went to go pick it up. They hit them, and then the Bengals got it. So now the Bengals got the ball.
First down.
First down.
Really? Is that how that works?
Yeah, because it went forward, and it just turns into a punt. Like, it just turns into a punt. And like they
Oh.
could have just let it go. Like, if you just let it go, like,
Uh-huh.
but instead of letting it go, they hit him. So live reaction, that'll be in the episode. But yes, back to what you're saying about the Panthers.
Yeah, Bryce Young, he's moving well. He just looks a lot more confident. I know, I think Tua talked about it with Brian Flores, I think earlier in the year. When you have a coach that's just like, you suck, I don't believe in you, like basically I hate you day in and day out, like you're going to start believing that. So good to see that from the Panthers side of the ball, but obviously a lot of pieces away from being a winning team, a winning franchise, and contending for anything at this point. But from the other side of the ball, as an Eagles homer, as a backup Eagles fan, when the Bears get really down bad throughout the year, I always turn to the Eagles because they are a competent franchise. Like you said, mere inches away from losing to the Panthers as they're contending for the NFC 1 seed. But during this time, Saquon breaks Shady McCoy's single season record for the Eagles. That was pretty cool to see. Obviously, there's the famous clip from Hard Knocks and the Giants over this last year. Like, he might go to Philadelphia. It would really suck if he goes somewhere nearby and really tears it up. Eagles, historic franchise, multiple championships. Saquon Barkley, leading single season rusher for the Philadelphia Eagles. Other than that, A.J. Brown complaining season is here, which means it's just another day that ends in Y. And wanted to talk about the Brandon Graham clip that came out. Basically, that
Absolutely.
the Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown beef is real. If you could read between the lines on the Brandon Graham clip, it kind of seems like Jalen Hurts is the one kind of trying to extend the olive branch, obviously as the quarterback, and you're really the leader of the team. You need to keep all your guys happy. There's been multiple clips from Brady and others saying you need to get your stars the ball, otherwise they get frustrated. Obviously, wide receivers are famous for being divas around here, but the Eagles are starting to look good. If they really stick to that rushing game, it'd be hard not to with the best season in Eagles history right there. The criticism on why am I blanking on his name? His
AJ Brown,
stupid no, the coach. What is his
Nick
name?
Sirianni.
Nick Sirianni. The criticism on Nick Sirianni was that he abandons the run and their offense just goes stagnant. Best season in Eagles history. We're going to hope they're not going to abandon the run in the playoffs here. Again, not a fantastic game in terms of X's and O's, but an exciting game nonetheless going down to the wire. Eagles win, still in contention for the 1 seed. Bryce Young looking good. It is a positive for all young quarterbacks out there.
Yeah, agreed. Brandon Graham, personally, I hate that. Don't air your team's dirty laundry out in public. Awful, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like, that's just sometimes how the sport works. And I saw right before we started recording, I got the notification that he has to, he's going to apologize to his teammates. At that point, it might be too late. Why would you say something like that could, like, at this point in the season? Like, you just had a big win. I know it was the Panthers, but like a big win, gritty win. Got a lot of games left running. I think it's horrible. I think that breaks down a locker room. Just embarrassing, in my opinion.
It definitely does. I mean, Brandon Graham has, I think, more to say about the Eagles than either of the two of them. I mean, he's been there a really long time. He has a Super Bowl ring with them. Obviously, airing out your dirty laundry is not in public is not the ideal way to go about it, but he should be an outspoken presence in that locker room. So hopefully they get it there. He's a veteran. He's great. Eagles legend. We'll see what kind of comes of it. I know a lot of personality on that team in a number of different ways. So not Philadelphia without some drama. So we'll see how they start.
Definitely not. Definitely not. Other game I wanted to mention real quick, Rams, Bills. That was probably the game of the weekend, in all honesty. Big shootout. Josh Allen with one of the most insane games I've ever seen. 3 rushing touchdowns, 3 throwing touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say I saw first player ever, right? No one's ever done that.
Correct.
First player ever. Never done that before. Pretty incredible. And they lost. And that's what's crazy to me. That is a very, like that's a very, I don't even know, like, maybe Joe Burrow this year. Like Joe Burrow's playing great, and
Yeah.
like they just can't play defense. I don't really know what else to say. Like that's one of the most like, well, you did your part. Like can't really defend anything else. But that was the game of the weekend. Rams team to watch. I think Rams sneaky good. They
Hmm.
lost the Eagles, I know, a few weeks ago, but you never know. Maybe they were kind of hurt a few weeks ago. Let the offense get humming. You never know. That being said, Bill's still good in my opinion. I just think it was just a tough game, and those games happen. 47, something like that, just like can't happen. But very good game. Two teams that we're gonna see in the playoffs, in my opinion, and I don't know. I think it showed some Bills, not like kryptonite, but a Bills like failure. Like show some Bills, like Bills have been kind of rolling, I felt like, and
Yeah.
they usually do roll in the regular season, but Bills this time like felt like it was kind of like, okay, maybe they're human again. Maybe they're human again.
Yeah, I don't think the Bills will overreact, which is good. Gonna get some Derek Bauer takes flying. He's a resident Bills fan. But before I do
Okay.
that, quick look into the NFC West standings. Seahawks stand at 8-5, Rams at seven
Yeah,
and
they're on
six,
fire.
Cardinals 6-7, Niners 6-7 as well. So the way that division ends, I also just secured tickets to Seahawks at Bears Thursday night on December 26th. So could
Oh,
be a
we'll be
very
at
important.
Seahawks Vikings next weekend. We'll be at Seahawks Vikings.
There we go. Should be interesting in that division, but the Bills won't freak out too much. From Derek Bauer's perspective, Josh Allen has officially locked up the MVP, and this game didn't matter. Rams NFC, Bills AFC, so not a lot of huge impact on the playoff picture. But the take of the day from Derek Bauer:
Okay,
McDermott
let's hear it.
is the NFL version of Ryan Day. Lack of aggression, too much punting, too much faith in the defense. A team that is in the mix every single year, 13 seconds, but can't always comes up short with heartbreaking losses. Sean McDermott is the NFL's version of Ryan Day.
I don't know if I mean, they definitely have heartbreaking losses. I'll tell you that. Like that I agree on. Like no doubt, because like think about how the way the Bills have lost. Like they lose on field goals. I mean, they've lost on some bad plays. But
Yeah.
I I could see that take. I could see that take. That's not bad. That's not a bad take. But I don't. I think it's also different. Like they like we have a ton of weapons on the outside this year, for example. Like the Bills don't
Yeah.
have a ton of, but I definitely see the like falter in big moments. He has been softer in times. Like I could see it. That's a good comp. That's a good comp
It's
for D-Bow.
It's a good take. Another thing, Ryan Day, obviously offensive guy. Sean McDermott is a defensive guy. I
Sure, sure.
have to admit that I took a nap during part of this game when the Rams were kind of blowing them out because the Bears were making me very, very sad very early. So I had to walk away from the TV. But the end of game scenario, did you see how that shook out, or do you want me to go through it?
In overtime? Oh, was this the sneak timeout?
Yes.
I did see. I did see that.
So Bills are marching down the field with 3 timeouts down to the 1 yard line. Drive is going well. They're getting out of bounds. Failed tush push on the 1 yard line. Probably has never happened in Sean McDermott and Josh Allen's life together. They call a timeout with time really, really short. So the big impact there is if they held on to all 3 of their timeouts, even if they called a pass play on that first down on the 1 yard line, or even if they just lined up and tush pushed it again, 3 timeouts, you had a chance to kick the ball deep, play defense, get a quick stop, and get the ball back with probably less than 30 seconds left, but nonetheless a chance to win the game. Instead, only 2 timeouts. You get the ball, you have to onside kick it. You don't have enough
Yeah.
timeouts to really kick it deep and play defense. Had to onside kick it. Really a bad mismanagement at the end of the game. Another kind of Ryan
I thought
Day
so as
take
well.
there. And then the Rams walk-off punt was another interesting end to the game there. So they were going to try and kick it, just sky kick it with about 7 seconds left to waste time and end the game. McDermott had 9 guys on the field. Rams take an intentional delay of game to wind the clock all the way down and get a little bit more room on the punt. Bills still have 9 guys on the field after the penalty. So a little bit of Ryan Day-esque there, but some tough end of game situation by the Bills. Again, not a huge impact. I've decided Josh Allen is my far and away favorite player to watch in the league. I know like Lamar is great. Mahomes is great. There's obviously a ton of great players in the NFL, but Josh Allen is really just playing a different sport. He wins by willpower alone. I don't know if he can read a defense. He definitely can. He's made it to the NFL, but he's just the guy at all times. He's just like running around like a rhino. Or like a buffalo. I mean, it's crazy. So
Yeah,
huge Josh Allen game. But yeah,
he definitely didn't have the mistakes this year, which is good. But I don't know. I think he's been too good this year. Like he's been on fire. I love the way watching him play, and I hope he can keep playing this way. I hope he doesn't falter or he has a bad pick in the playoffs or something
yeah.
went wrong in the playoffs. I'm pretty sure right now they're slated for the 1 seed, no? As of
Chiefs
right
are
now.
11-1. They did beat the Chiefs. They did beat the Chiefs.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter because standings are like universal. It's not like it's okay. Oh, Buffalo has 3 losses.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So Kansas City still is the first. Wow, I thought they only had 2. But either or, yeah, it's gonna be very interesting. This is a good chance for Josh to get his chance. And yeah, gonna be pretty exciting. Really quick, I'll say other quick notes. Chiefs, Devil Magic, they somehow keep winning. But I will say the O-line is very bad. That will come to bite them at one point. I really do think so in the playoffs. Cowboys just lost in a brutal 27-20 game. Awful. You saw my reaction live, actually, while we were recording, but you saw my reaction live. Horrible, awful game by the defense at the end, but awful job by the special teams. Don't even know who to blame. Don't care. But Bears, any thoughts before we go to clutch moment of the week?
Anyone who is saying Thomas Brown is the shoe-in for the head coach moving forward and that he's the next coming of Mike Tomlin because he sounds a little bit tougher and more professional than Matt Eberflus is stupid. This O-line is still very bad. I don't understand how the offense can look literally the worst thing ever in the first half and somehow always like gets it together in the second half. It's bad. I need the season to be over. I don't even want to think about draft picks. We've had the number 1 pick now 2 years in a row. So what the fuck are we doing with draft picks? Ryan Poles is on. Nah, I'm not going to call him on the hot seat, but it's bad in Chicago. I don't like Sundays. Only other thing I had in the NFL, Bill Belichick to UNC is heating up. He seems to be on the prowl looking for a college job to go to. Very curious to see how he would recruit in college. I know we talked about in OSU's case, like Mike Vrabel coming here, he said he doesn't want to do the whole recruiting trail. We've all seen Bill Belichick's press conferences, and I just don't know if he'd be able to sit in the living room and really relate to a 17, 18-year-old kid coming out of South Florida. So I'm interested to see how that shakes out.
The fun thing, I mean, I don't know if it's like a fun thing. The way I will say it's pretty interesting about that is, I don't know if you saw, but if he does get this job at UNC, yes, I agree. I don't know how he'll handle NAL. I don't know how he'll relate to the 17, 18-year-old. But I did hear 2 things. One, he's going to treat UNC like a developmental program. He's going to try to get people to the NFL. He's going to get them prepped for the NFL. And if they win games, 8, 9, 10 games, awesome. But he's going to try to get the best players there to the NFL and breed UNC to be a powerhouse program in that stance. Then, also, in his contract, he said that when he's done, he wants the keys to be handed to his son. His son's going to be heir to the throne in UNC. Kind of cool. Definitely taking your Nepo to the all-time highest. But in my opinion, pretty interesting, pretty cool to see if that'll work, in my opinion. But I don't know. I think he's going to have a tough job. I still don't think he's going to be taking that job yet. I foresee that job not being where he's going to land. I still think he waits it out for an NFL job one more time. But I could be wrong.
We shall see. Football is fun, mostly on Saturdays, not really on Sundays, but a lot more to talk about.
No.
Playoff picture starting to take shape in the NFL. Both of our teams are well out of it at this point. I don't know if the Cowboys may still have a path, but tough out here. No. Playoff picture.
Today was not today had a win.
You were so focused on the game. The tank was on 2 weeks ago, and then they won a game, and you were like, "Oh my God, we need to watch this Monday night game against the 4-8 Bengals."
Well, because now
so I don't know where your head's at.
Like, well, now it was like they got stuck. They got stuck at like now they're stuck at like 10-12, and they don't know what they're doing now. So now it's like, so either you win, like you really try to make a push and like try to be the idiots that go 9-8 or like 10-7, or you lose, and then they got stuck because everyone was playing hard, but they lost today, so they'll be 5-8 now, and maybe we can just keep on sliding a little, get into some places where we can trade some picks.
So at about 6:30 Central today, the tank was off. We were pushing for a win today, but
Back
now
on.
it is
Tank's back on.
10:30. The tank is back on. So we'll be monitoring the tank over in Dallas and the rest of the playoff picture in the NFL. Focused on Tennessee in the college landscape, but we'll wrap it up here. Kick it to our ad read and the clutch moment of the week. Our clutch moment of the week is brought to you by Shore Metals, big enough to serve you and small enough to know you. Serving Southern California since 1970. See Stan, he'll help you out. Michael, who is your clutch moment of the week?
Clutch moment of the week. It's back. A lot of people have been asking for it. A lot of people wanted it for a few years. It's been gone for a while. The snack wrap is coming back to McDonald's. Clutch moment of the week goes out to McDonald's. They announced 2025 snack wrap coming back. The holiday season brought us a nice little present from McDonald's. Not a big McDonald's guy anymore, but those were good. They are good. They are a good meal. They are a main staple on that menu. Deserve to be back. Very clutch. Snack wrap coming back to McDonald's.
When was the last time you had McDonald's?
Probably within the year. Probably at some point. I think I had it I actually had it drunk, I think, a couple months ago.
All you can certainly say is within the year. Because I could probably say within the month perhaps, and it's December 9th.
Oh no. It's definitely within the last 6 months to a year. I've had it once or twice in the year of 2024.
Damn. Okay. Way to make me feel bad about myself.
I take that back. I'd say probably somewhere between April and December, because January to March was hard 75. 75 hard. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't eating then. So probably April, December, maybe even April to October, somewhere in there. I would even shrink my time. But I wouldn't.
You'll get back into it when you move out. Don't worry.
Yeah. I like the breakfast more there than anything else. I usually get the breakfast at the airport. That's probably where I've had it.
Respect.
So, but yeah, it's my clutch moment of the week. How about you?
My clutch moment of the week goes out to Nancy Sharber, Michael's mother. Comes to my defense a couple weeks ago. We were talking about Ohio State's slow starts. Michael took a lot out on me, and that was even before the Michigan game. I don't know if he had a bad week at work or what it was. I said I don't like when we start slow, and I think that'll be even more important coming off of a tough Michigan loss, having to face the Columbus home crowd again. Going to be very important to start quick for the playoffs coming up. But so clutch moment of the week, Nancy Sharber. She texted Michael after that episode aired and said, Michael, stop yelling at Joey. She knew I was right. She knew the Buckeyes needed to start out hotter. So clutch moment of the week goes out to Nancy Sharber for being more of a ball knower than her son.
And I was right. That's why I responded with. She said, don't yell at Joey. I said, but I'm right.
I don't think so. We shall see. I do think it's going to be important for Ohio State to start out hot against Tennessee. Ryan Day did have a funny clip in the press conference. They asked him about it. Kirk Herbstreit, that was the first thing he said. I don't know why he hates the Buckeyes. Yeah, he hates the Buckeyes so much, I guess. I don't know why Kirk Herbstreit, but the reporters asked Ryan Day, hey, are you worried to face the home crowd? Obviously there was some boos. We were booing in the stadium for the Michigan game. Are you worried about that? And Ryan Day said they do that when we go 3-and-out sometimes, so we're all good there. So clutch moment of the week goes out to Nancy Sharber and the McDonald's CEO for submitting the snack wrap back in 2025. Now we'll wrap it up with Outside the Line.
Now wrapping up with Outside the Line and starting off with Tone Deaf Person of the Week. What do you got?
Mine's got to go out to a family of tone deafs. The Herbstreits, Kirk and his son. Starting off with the kid. Kid Herbstreit, quarterback, has committed to Michigan. A 0-star recruit, I believe, committed to one of the premier college football programs in the country. Really, in my perspective, kind of just a troll move by Michigan. The fact that Kirk is even letting that happen is tone deaf to begin with. I'm not sure. I'm not like I've broken down film on the kid. Best of luck to him and his college career moving forward. But is he really just going to go to Michigan to ride the bench? He's a 0-star recruit. That seems a little bit weird to me. They just brought in the same class as Bryce Underwood. Really just seems like a way to troll the Buckeyes. So tone deaf there, first of all. And then Kirk just kind of seems to be the biggest Buckeye hater on the planet. I think one of his other kids goes to maybe another rival in the Big Ten. And the first thing he said on the bracket, Yeah, first thing he said when the bracket got announced is, "Oh, Ryan Day and the Buckeyes, is this even a home game? I think the home crowd's going to boo him the whole time." He's an SEC rider, hates the Buckeyes for some reason. Kirk and Kid Herb Street, tone deaf people of the week. Don't like it. Don't like it. I've defended him for a long time with the whole dog thing and everything. People got annoyed by the dog. I was a fan. I'm done. Kirk, I'm done. You've lost me.
I don't even know like there must be something the public doesn't know, in my opinion. Like he either isn't allowed in like he's not close with Ryan Day, or he's not in the whole Ohio State inner circles. But like he's probably going to call this game. Isn't he calling the game for us?
I think
Probably.
so. Yeah.
So he'll be calling the game. One, two. What benefit do you have your son to go there? They're not developing quarterbacks any better than us.
No.
They're not. He's going to sit behind Bryce Underwood and learn on their Sharon Moore. He's a 0-star recruit. He's getting no NIL money. What is the benefit of going there? Total cuck move. Total freaking troll move. That's what I'm saying. Something is up. Either he doesn't respect Ryan Day, or he doesn't respect the program, or whatever's going on at Ohio State. There's a disconnect that I think we don't know about. And when I was reading more into it from Ohio State message boards, it really seems to be that a lot of people think he's a douchebag and an asshole to begin with. So maybe he is. Maybe he is.
Kirk?
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly, for the longest time, like, I was not a Buckeye fan before I went to college. So, like, it took me a minute to even realize that he was a Buckeye, because, see, like, Urban, he's always, like, claiming us, repping us, like, definitely defending.
You're saying
Buckeyes,
a few years
like,
ago?
Yeah, like, back, like, early in my college career, I was like, oh, Kirk Herbstreit was a Buckeye quarterback, because he just, like, never does anything to be close to the program, to claim the program. So, I don't know what it is, but the Herb Streets, starting with Kirk, tone deaf people of the week from my side.
I love that one. I love that tone deaf person of the week. Mine is going to be some MLB tone deaf. First, tone deaf is the MLB player ranking or play rankings for top plays. The MLB is ranking them 100, the number one top plays of the year from the regular season to the playoffs, and just completely awful rankings, in my opinion. I don't believe, like, I saw the Angels had 2 plays. Kevin Pillar had 2 catches in the outfield that they were in the top 20. But then you have the Joaquin Noel Big Christmas home run was number 30 in the playoffs. Juan Soto's homer to send him to the World Series was only number 25. Like, how are those? Like, I get it. They're maybe not the furthest home runs in the world, or like World Series walk-off homers, but those are pretty big moments. And then they have like diving catches or a first home run for a rookie ahead of it. Just awful. So tone deaf, awful rankings of plays, just bad rankings. Other side of tone deaf with the MLB, maybe partially tone deaf myself. Breaking news broke Sunday night. Juan Soto signing with the Mets, 16 years, $765 million. No deferred money. Opt out after 5 years. They can block the opt-out from going from $51 million a year to $55 million a year. No dead money, no trade clause, the whole 9 yards. Real-time money for about a total of over $800 million. Obviously, the precedent was set last year when Shohei signed his deal. And Shohei was, prime age of an athlete, 2-way star, $700 million. The deferred money obviously caused a lot of controversy, still causing a lot of controversy. But that being said, felt like, okay, $700 million for a guy who plays 2 ways, understandable. Even someone coming off Tommy John twice. $765 million for a guy who just hits. I understand he's only 26 years old, and I understand he's an incredible bat and has an incredible eye at the plate. But he plays below average defense. He doesn't run well, and his arm's okay. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. And my friends and I were talking about it, like, who I play baseball with. Will we ever see someone get $1 billion contract? I don't know. I think there's more of a chance now, but absurd. $765. The Mets better win. Like, this is how it was last year with the Dodgers. But the Dodgers had Mookie and Freddie and Tyler. Like, they had players there, like, to begin with.
Yeah.
Mets have him and Francisco Lindor. The Mets better figure out what they're doing here, or they're not going to do anything. Their pitching staff is not good. Their bullpen is not good. They do have a young core, but they need to, like, I don't know. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm tone deaf. I just think it's asinine. $765 million.
It's a lot of money, and I definitely am not the biggest seam head out there, but for him to be just as bad, I feel like baseball is as streaky of a sport as it comes, and him individually obviously could have a down year next year, and the Mets also. I feel like the story with the Mets, and obviously like I don't know their advanced stats or really deep into it, but the way that people talked about them and described them in the playoffs last year was they were kind of on a miracle run, like they were winning off of vibes and off of devil magic, so to sign one guy, obviously like Lindor has been around for a very long time and he's great. Um, to sign one guy to be like, oh, this is our missing piece for all that money for all those years, and you were just winning off vibes, like it could look very different next year. So curious to see how that one ages. Maybe that's in the tone deaf cooker for the time being to see if you're tone deaf or if they were tone deaf a little bit later on. But
Right.
baseball is just crazy to me because I know we were talking about this like as before we were recording
Yeah.
this.
If anybody's trying to wonder what to do with their kids, definitely play baseball. Play baseball. That's where the
My
money's at.
the best classes that we took in high school was our like business classes. It was like sports and entertainment marketing,
Right.
entrepreneurship. Watched a whole lot of Shark Tank. He said, raise your hand if you're left-handed. On like our first day of sports marketing, I am left-handed. I raised my hand. He goes, why are you here? Go learn to throw a baseball 90 miles an hour and go be a reliever in the MLB. So it should have been that. But
Lefty too.
like
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, baseball is just weird because, like, in my mind, like, if you're signing a guy, especially like signing him away from another team, like Shohei is like nearly fulfilled like his 10-year contract.
Already now.
MVP, won a ring.
I would say one
obviously,
more
like,
ring personally, but yeah, I would agree with you.
coming back to be pitching this year, like we'll see what he can do there. But 15 years, 26 years old, like doesn't do half the stuff that Shohei does. I would honestly be shocked if we didn't see someone get to $1 billion contract at some point. Hope probably in our lifetime, but I mean, I don't know how you do that. Like these owners are rich, yeah, but they're only worth so much. So
The toughest.
I have no idea where it goes with baseball.
The toughest thing here for baseball and like $1 billion is like, in my mind, there's a few factors. Factor one is you do it like Shohei's and you defer all that money basically to the next ownership and you see what happens in 15, 30 years. You do it this way. There's not many owners like Steve Cohen. Obviously, Steve Cohen, tycoon, a billionaire, probably one of the top 50 richest people in the world. So there's that kind of like fuck you money, which he does have. The thing with $1 billion is it's just so tough. A lot of things need to go right. For example, Juan Soto is 26 years old. He got signed as a 16-year-old in the Dominican Republic for the Nationals. So he was signed at 16, he was up at 19, and he hit free agency by 26 after being on, by the way, his third team. He's been on 3 teams since before this. So definitely a guy that they've been trading away, and maybe it's partly him. But 4th team, 26 years old, $765 million. Like, to me, that's insane. Everything has to go perfect, in my opinion, for someone to get to $1 billion. I don't personally think it would ever be an American player, and only because you have to go to college or you're 18 when you go to high school and you're in the minor leagues for 2 years. There's that part of it, but I think it would only be someone from a different country because you can come over here a lot younger, and that's my point of view. So maybe we'll see it, but I have no idea. So you're right, tone deaf cooker for now. Wrapping up now, wrong side, right side.
Right side, I'll start off with, I know we were dogging on the SEC a lot for football. They think it's different there. Is it really? But it seems to be really different in basketball this year. So my right side goes out to SEC basketball. As of yesterday, the SEC teams were currently sitting at 123 and 18 on the year. You got number 10 Alabama, number 2 Auburn, number 13 Florida, number 4 Kentucky, 23 Ole Miss, 21 OU, 3 Tennessee, and 22 Texas A&M. Right side is SEC basketball. A great Kentucky game. I was watching Kyle went to Kentucky, and a lot of my friends went to Kentucky as well. So good win for them the other day. Trying to get into college basketball a little bit earlier. March Madness comes around the corner, and I pretend I'm an expert, but that is usually the first minute that I watch college basketball. So OSU doesn't seem to look super good at the moment, but trying to get into college basketball and SEC, it really may be different when it comes to basketball there. That's my right side. How about you?
I will say, before I do mine, to wrap it up, big SEC versus Ohio State day next Saturday. Kentucky versus Ohio State at the Garden for basketball.
Yep.
And Ohio State versus Tennessee football. So big SEC versus Ohio State day next weekend. So something to keep an eye on for that. A lot of pain, I think, coming our way.
Yes.
For me, wrong and right side, Wrong side, work does not seem like it's going to be a walk in the park to Christmas. It seems like it's going to be a busy couple of weeks, a lot of stuff to do. Gonna be tough. Have a trip going next Thursday. I got to go to Vegas for the day and do like inventory count. Got a lot of stuff to do still at work, a lot of revenue stuff. It's going to be a long couple weeks, I think. I was kind of hoping to limp in to Christmas, and I think there's going to be no limping here. So looking at that. Right side for me, though, I will say, there was rumors that I was going to have to go to Columbus on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day for an inventory count for my client. And lo and behold, found out this morning that another two people on my team were going to do it next weekend in Ohio. They were like, we're just going to do it. No big deal. We'll go out and handle it. Not a big deal at all. They're going. I asked, so does this mean the one on New Year's Eve canceled? Canceled. So don't have to be there. So now, obviously, focus on Tennessee. Focus on Tennessee. We're all focused on Tennessee. But if we focus enough on Tennessee, then Ohio State can focus on Oregon in the Rose Bowl. That'd be here. All of us potentially go. A lot of guys coming out. So a potential, not yet. We're still focused on Tennessee, but a potential right side to be had.
Big time. That's big time. Would have been very disappointing, not even just for the potential game that we would be playing, though we are currently focused on Tennessee. Would have just been like kind of a shitty way to spend New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. Having to wake up and doing that. I know we got a lot of friends out in Columbus, so it would have been good to see some people, but definitely not an ideal.
Would have been working. Wouldn't even done anything. So just brutal. But
good there.
Focus on Tennessee, though. Focus on Tennessee.
Focus on Tennessee. My wrong side, to finish it up, I don't know if I've said this on the pod yet, but a new gym, something I'm currently dealing with. So to make a stupid story short, I joined a gym here in the city when I moved. I was going to LA Fitness out in Lake Zurich, canceled that membership, joined a new gym, Export Fitness. LA Fitness bought that property, so it turned into an LA Fitness. So I ended up paying more for that membership than I had at the one in the suburb. And that location then closed 1 month later. So had to go to a new gym. Luckily, the next LA Fitness is not that far away. They basically bought that location and cannibalized it. But first day at the new gym today, it's older, it's shittier, it's smaller. All the people from my old gym are going there, so it's packed. And I don't really know what to do now. So new gym woes is my wrong side moment at the moment. Got to figure that out. Maybe going to be an early gym grinder, which I've been telling myself for about the last many years that I was going to be a before work gym person. So we'll see what happens there, but that's my wrong side.
Love it. Get a little better. Trying to get better.
Every day.
Next week, coming back for another episode, Joey and I are going to update you guys with our plan for the holidays, what's going on, and a full